Hello, I'm Galynn Huber, the Street Fleet Manager for Public Works. Today I'd like to talk to you about two things. One is the ballot question on snow gates that you're going to see in April, and the other is how we went about over the last 3 winters testing, and then also the results of those snow gate tests that we did do. So let's start out with the ballot question. This is the wording that the city received along with the signatures on the initiative to implement snow gates. This is what you will see on the ballot in April. And just a brief explanation on what this means. If the voters approve this initiated measure, then the city would use snowgate devices to aid in snow removal program for streets within the City of Sioux Falls. A vote yes is for the use of snow gates in the city's snow removal program. A vote no is against the use of snow gates in the city snow removal program. So let's talk about how we went through and tested snow gates, and then we'll get into the results of those tests. First of all, what is a typical winter in Sioux Falls? A typical winter is approximately 43 inches of snow, which means I have to plow out the city approximately 5 times. So what is a snow alert then when I do declare a snow alert? A snow alert means that we go in and we plow every street within the City of Sioux Falls. There's approximately 3,000 lane miles within the City of Sioux Falls, and it takes just under 30 hours to plow out the city on an average basis. As you can see from this slide, this is the 3 winters that we actually tested snow gates, and you can see the first winter was a very typical winter for us in which we had 6 snow alerts and we had 45.6 inches of snow. The other 2 winters were a lot less snow than what we normally would receive. We also tried to take a look at when we were using snow gates, we tried to spread it out throughout the entire city. We tried to go into mature areas of town where the streets are a little bit narrower. We also tried to go to the outer city limits of the city where the streets are a little bit wider and the lots are a little bit larger. We also tried to get different types of configuration of streets, hilly streets, streets with curves, flat streets. Also, we could get a good measure on how snow gates would work. And over the 3-year process, we basically tested 20% of the city streets with snow gates. So what did we consider when we were out using the snow gates? First of all, we wanted to know the snow amount per event, the type of snow, and by that I mean if it's a wet snow or a dry snow, the total snow accumulation for the event, and then again we get into the street characteristics as far as narrow streets, wider streets, how wide the driveway is, the spacing between driveways, and then the type of equipment that we used as far as the snow gates themselves, and then the operator experience. One other thing that we took a look at was the private contractors. Private contractors provide 40% of our snow removal operation during a snow alert. And so we had to take a look at their coordination as far as shifting, communications, fueling, and their repair and maintenance. So what did we learn from snow gates? We found out that it does effectively reduce snow in driveways and intersections up to a certain amount of snow. Normally that point for us in Sioux Falls is right about 6 inches. Anything below 6 inches, it worked very effectively. Above 6 inches, the efficiency went down. Also, the difference between wet snow and dry snow. Dry snow we were able to blade off with snow gates a lot easier than wet snow. Wet snow tended to hang up in the blade and was harder for it to discharge away from the blade. And then again, cul-de-sacs are hard without snow gates, and with snow gates it added another challenge for us. The other thing that we also seen was that streets will be narrowed throughout the winter using snow gates. We also seen that using our 6-wheel drive motor graders was essential to make sure that we were able to push the snow as close to the curb as we could. And then also the operator effectiveness improved greatly with experience. Each year that we tested, I used the same operators, and every year they became more efficient on how they were able to operate the snow gates. And then also the teamwork that was required with contractors. We tested 2 different types of snow gates during this 3-year process, and the Henke snow gates performed the best. They allowed us to get to the curb the closest. They were engineered so they fit our moldboard better, and it allowed us to also clean the gutter pan better than with the other snow gate. What are the snow gate opportunities that you'll see? Snow gates do reduce snow in the driveways. Snow gates do reduce the snow in the intersections. As we go through an intersection, we'll close the gate and pull the snow all the way through instead of leaving a windrow and discharge it when we get on the other side. And then we did receive a lot of positive feedback from the public on snow gates. What are some of the risks that we may experience with snow gates? It's going to increase our time. We have to drive slower with snow gates in order to keep the snow in the blade. And there's also potential for more breakdowns because snow gates have hydraulic hoses and parts in them that can break down, so that it could add to the delays, and then also the logistics of working with contractors and snow gates. Another one of the risks that we may experience is narrowing of the streets. What type of risk would this cause? Certainly our main goal is safety, and not only for the driving public, but also for the first responders out there. We want to make sure that the streets are wide enough so they can get their equipment through the street, especially like fire trucks. The other thing it may do is it may cause us to eliminate on-street parking during the winter if the streets do get too narrow. It will cause us to have to do a lot more plowbacks because of narrow streets, and with drifting, the drifts will come out onto the driving lanes a lot quicker, which means we'll have to react to it. And some of the things that we're seeing right now, as we get snow melt, the inlets are plugged and the water doesn't have any place for it to basically to leave the street. And we're going to have to go out and open up those inlets to physically get the water to drain off the streets. So those are some of the risks that you may experience with narrowing streets. Some of the flexibilities that we may have to have with snow gates is limiting their use. We may have to limit their use if we receive a snow event of over 6 inches. Again, we want to make sure that the streets are clean and safe once we go through them. And we were experiencing situations with over 6 inches of snow that there's so much snow going over the blade and around the blade, it didn't even look like we were plowing it. So we may have to limit it with more than 6 inches of snow. And also in streets where the snow is starting to narrow it, we may have to eliminate using snow gates on certain streets during the winter season. The test data has two concerns. One of them is that 2 of the 3 years were very mild winters, and we didn't get a lot of data from those 2 mild winters. And the actual financial results may vary based on winter conditions and identifiable variables within the winter. What did we consider as far as costs when we were looking at snow gates? We looked at the plowing costs, which includes fueling, labor, materials, and then the initial cost of purchasing the snow gates, and then thirdly, the cost of picking up the snow. What we found out from the data once we collected it, as far as fuel consumption goes, depending on the type of snow, if we have a really dry snow, we had very little additional fuel consumption with snow gates. As we got heavier and wetter snow, the fuel consumption did increase with the use of snow gates. Operational times was showing that same type of curve. If we had dry snow, it wasn't taking us that much longer to do this entire city with snow gates versus the heavy wet snow. When we had to go and plow the city out, it took longer. And then again, that associates along with the time. We can plow the city out normally in less than 30 hours. With snow gates, it's probably going to take us a little over 30 hours. What are the estimated costs for operating snow gates within the city? There's a one-time cost of purchasing the snow gates, and we estimate that we'll need 33 snow gates for $198,000. And then the annual cost that will go along with operating snow gates would be the fuel, the labor, the equipment costs, the contractors, installation, maintenance, and replacement of snow gates, which amounts to about $325,000. And then one of the things that we've seen the first winter, when we had a very average winter of 46 inches, we actually had to go in and pick up snow on some residential streets that we normally don't pick up snow on. So estimating that we're going to have to go in and pick up some of these streets, we're putting a dollar amount of anywhere from $0 to $290,000 to do additional snow pickup. And this would be primarily around school zones to provide for safety of children when they're being dropped off and when they're being picked up. So the total annual cost to operate snow gates within the City of Sioux Falls should range somewhere between $325,000 and $615,000 on a yearly basis. I hope this has helped you to understand how the operation of snow gates worked within the City of Sioux Falls, the data that we collected, and also the results. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact either Mark Cotter, the Director of Public Works, or myself. Thank you.